Comic book movies are all the rage at the moment. So much so that a modern blockbuster is now more likely to be based on a comic than not. And it's also why everybody seems to love Guardians of the Galaxy, but no one cares for The Expendables 3. And I'm sure none of that has anything to do with The Expendables 3 being terrible. Of course, with the amount of comic book movies hitting cinemas over the past couple of decades or so, there's bound to be some that people have mostly forgotten, that have faded into memory, slipped through the cracks of our minds. Other appropriate metaphors or expressions about forgetting things. So here are 5 comic book movies in no particular order that don't always get the kudos they deserve. The Losers from 2010 was a critically divided and now oft-forgotten action film based on the comic of the same name. The A-Team reboot movie, a film with a similar style setup but under the umbrella of a more well-known brand, was unfortunately released around the same time, and as a result, people remember that film more, which is weird because it's not very good and did way less with a significantly bigger budget. Starring a host of actors we've seen in other well-known comic book roles, including Chris Evans, Idris Elba, Zoe Saldana, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, it follows a ragtag Black Ops team turned on by the government who were then forced to clear their names. The plot is pretty standard stuff, but it's more about the characters and their interactions between each other and the scenarios that they're put in that make this one interesting. Especially the antics of Chris Evans.
She's got a gun. It's pointed at my dick. Clay, it's pointed at my dick. Clay.
Would you rather it was pointed at your face?
I know it makes no sense, but yes.
This one's worth checking out if you haven't already.
That's right, bitches. I got a crossbow.
I was tossing up whether to include the first or second movie when it came to choosing a Hellboy film, and honestly, I couldn't decide, so I'm just gonna do both at once. So I know that technically that makes this video 6 underrated comic book movies, but who cares? Shut up! The second Hellboy, I think, is a better film, but the first one was really something unique to behold upon its release. But what they both have in common is exciting, left-of-center paranormal stories, terrific and inventive action sequences, some of the best creature designs and effects ever put to film, and amazing performances from Ron Perlman and Doug Jones, despite being made unrecognizable under heavy prosthetics. Though a third film is looking less and less likely as the years progress, especially with director Guillermo del Toro's commitment to the Pacific Rim franchise, these 2 big-budget movies with surprisingly personal and emotional stories are unfortunately probably the last time we'll see these characters for a while, if not ever. Which sucks, but you know, what can you do? V for Vendetta, you obviously knew was gonna make this list for 2 reasons. 1, it's on the thumbnail of this video, and 2, it's awesome. Even though the original graphic novel's creator, Alan Moore, dismisses its existence, as he does with all adaptations of his films, and there's an inexplicable bit where V sets up some dominoes for no reason, except maybe for symbolism or whatever, this film absolutely stands on its own, and then some. It's not just the fancy karate gimmicks, or the teeth-rattling explosions, or even the terrific performances by Natalie Portman and Hugo Weaving that makes this movie great. It's really the message told here. You know, that people shouldn't be afraid of their governments, and it's the government that should be afraid of their people. That is what drives this film. And again, even though Alan Moore hates it, mostly because it changes the key ideas relating to anarchy and fascism that stem from Thatcher's era in government to one more concerned with freedom fighting, you'd be an idiot not to check out what may very well be my personal favorite comic book movie of all time.
Why won't you die?
Beneath this mask, there is more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy. And ideas are bulletproof.
Let me just start this off by saying that both Judge Dredd films are amazing in their own way. Sylvester Stallone's version is amazing because it's the worst.
You killed innocent people.
The means to an end.
You started a massacre.
I caused the revolution.
You betrayed the law.
Law!
And Carl Urban's version is amazing because it takes what on paper sounds like a very direct-to-DVD kind of premise and turns it into this incredibly visceral action film. The budget constraints in place here means that the story only hints at a larger, more dangerous world. But I feel that that works to this movie's advantage, enabling it to tell a more focused, day-in-the-life kind of story. And even though I'm not overly au fait with the source material, it's easy to tell that this movie gets so much right about the character Judge Dredd and the world he inhabits. Such as A, you never see the title character's face. B, he is brutal, remorseless, and unforgiving, as the character should be. And C, that gun is amazing.
What?
I said, hot shot.
This movie is good enough that despite commercially failing, online fan petitioning means we may actually be getting a sequel.
We really, really appreciate it, and we're working very, very hard to bring you Dredd 2. So thank you so much, and please continue to support, because it really does help. Thank you. Take care.
Which, admittedly, probably won't do very well either. I'll be honest, I'm not really a horror movie guy. Seeing lots of blood and torture and gore does nothing for me. I'm sick of exorcism films, and ghosts are bullshit. Of course, there are exceptions to this. A good movie is, after all, a good movie. The Thing is amazing, as is 28 Days Later. But 2007's 30 Days of Night took me completely by surprise. It's got a great setup. A small town in Alaska, about to be besieged by winter darkness for 30 days and nights, is targeted by a group of ancient vampires led by a guy who looks like he could be your friend from school's dad. The tension in this film mounts from early on as the town is systematically crippled, with the power being cut off as well as all forms of communications in preparation for what's coming. It's a really chilling tale, somewhat because of the unique vampire design, but also because of all the snow. Also, there's a bit where we see some mashy gears, and you think, oh man, I hope someone goes into that, and then BAM! It happens. Thanks everyone, and don't forget, new videos here every Sunday and Thursday. Also, if you want, why not check out my podcast, The Weekly Planet? This week's episode explores some notable cancelled comic book movies. Find that on iTunes, where it's doing pretty well, linked below, or at theterrificcomicbookmovie.com. But I'd love to know, what is your favourite underrated comic book movie? Honestly, there's a few here that I could have easily included, but I think I'm going to save that for a follow-up video. You can leave any thoughts that you might have below or via my Twitter and Facebook pages, both ending in Mr. Sunday Movies, if you have anything to say. Thanks everyone, take care.